Hey, what's up guys? Matt here with the Traveling Prospector. Well, in this video I have a few stream sluices that I want to show you. I actually only have two present. One of them flowed down the river on me when I was out in California. I left camp and got stranded away for about a day and a half from camp. And when I got back to the mining site, well, the river had rose about 5 foot. It was all flooded out, and unfortunately, one of my favorite sluice boxes was gone. But I'll go ahead and throw a picture up right here, and we'll give that box a review too. Alright guys, let's get this started. Go ahead and we'll start out with the Keene A51 box. And this is a shorter version. Keene has an A52 box too. It's just a little bit longer, and it has an attachable flare on it. I like the little shorty box, and who knows, maybe in the future I'll buy an A52 sluice box too, just because I'm kind of addicted to buying sluice boxes. But I'll tell you guys the truth, you really only need one sluice box. If the only box I had was this box right here, it would do me just fine. However, there are some benefits to having a couple different boxes to choose from, but like I said, you only need one box. So I'll go ahead and tell you what I like about these both different boxes, and then I'll go ahead and give you a review on the Angus box that I used to have that I really liked. Alright, this is the Keene A51 box, made in the good old USA. What I like about it is it has a handle, which it does come in handy. That's nice. Pretty simple design here. You just got a couple clips right here. You just undo your clips. The riffle trays go underneath that bolt there. Pretty obvious how they go in. It's got a piece of expanded metal on it. This is miner's moss. And for you guys that have never seen this stuff up close, all it is just pretty much a mat. You see how it's got these little weaves and wooves or whatever in them? That really helps. It really helps catch the fine gold, even the big chunky gold. I've dug big chunkers out of here. So miner's moss is something I believe in. I really think it works pretty good. Back in the day, the old timers, what they would do is they would find moss along the river and they would shove it into their sluice box just to get that gold to hold up on something. So that's where the name of this stuff originated from. I imagine this stuff's a little bit better than the seaweed and the moss that they got along the river. But Keene doesn't sell it with the miner's moss in it, and you really don't, honestly, you don't need it, but I like to run it with it. I feel like maybe some of the fine gold that maybe would slip out of the box otherwise gets caught up in that mat right there. And once it gets stuck in that mat, it's not coming out until you clean it out. Alright, so Keene just sells it with a nice piece of green carpet here, which works just fine. We'll go ahead and put it back together with the moss in there, because that's how I like to run it. And then the expanded metal, I spray painted the front white, just so I put it back in the same way every time. But really, for this type of expanded metal, it doesn't matter what way you put it in. I can flip it over, flip it around. But like I said, just so I do it the same way every time, I went ahead and took some spray paint and spray painted the front white, so I know it goes in the front all the time. It doesn't matter for this box though, so if that's something you're worried about, if you're going to put it in the right way every time, it doesn't really matter. You can't go wrong with this piece of metal right here. Now, if this was a dredge box and we were using the expanded metal on the dredge box, it does matter. But that's not what we're talking about right now, so we'll stick to subject. And obviously, I've had to get my clips to wear in here because, well, with that extra miner's moss in here, it takes a little bit more effort to get these clamped down, but it really doesn't take that much. Good old foot will work just fine, or your hand is what I usually do. But I'm holding the camera in the other hand, so that's not going to work today. Now, normally that should be locked down all the way flat, kind of like this side. Since I put the miner's moss in there, that's a little bit of an issue I have. But it doesn't even make a difference because it clamps down, it holds tight, and it gets the job done just fine. As far as this black stuff right here, this stuff is called Black V Indicator Mat. Keene sells their boxes with the shallow profile. I honestly like the deep profile. If I had a piece, I'd show you. That's what I run in my dredge box, is the deep profile stuff. And I like the deep profile stuff a little better because I feel like any fine gold that gets caught on the shallow stuff, if the water comes in a little bit harder, the water's not exactly at the right angle coming in, what will happen is that fine gold will work its way into the box. And you guys that do this stuff, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of nice to keep all your gold up here if you can. When it comes into the box, it's kind of nice to see it. But anyway, it doesn't really matter because once the gold gets in here and your box is set up right, you're not going to be losing it, especially with that miner's moss in here. But anyways, personal preference, I really like the deep V matting better, but I'm not going to go ahead and tear this out because, and I think it would be pretty stupid to peel it out and put the deep V matting in. This works just fine, and it's really not that big of an issue. It's just a personal preference that I have. So it's a real nice box. I like it. It's got the nice Keene sticker over here. That's just a sticker, but I like it on there. And it's got the angle flares, which is kind of nice. It kind of directs the water. I definitely do like this box, and I'm glad to have it part of my mining program. I had planned on picking one up, but since I had the Angus McKirk box, I wasn't planning on picking this up as soon as possible. But when I got out to California and I had that river flood situation, well, I had no sluice boxes with me at the time, so I ended up buying the only sluice box that they had available at the mining shop at the time, and it was the Keene A51 box. I actually traded some of the gold that I have found for that box. I can run quite a few buckets through dirt through that thing without having to clean up, so this box suits me just fine. Alright, now we'll move on to the Latrap box. Nice thing about this box is when you want to do a cleanup and you're done running for the day, well, all you have to do is tip this box into a panning tub right here, and then take a 5-gallon bucket of water and rinse it down. And it's a lot easier to clean up. This box isn't hard to clean up by any means, but you got to pull it out, you got to clean the carpet up, you got to rinse the miner's moss out, and then you got to clip it and put it all back together. Not a hard job at all, and I don't mind doing it. However, this box right here is a little bit simpler because it doesn't require as much work to clean it out, and sometimes that is nice. Now, as far as the riffles on this box, this is just your standard drop riffle sluice. Same as my Angus McKirk box. Now most of your gold is going to be right up here in the front section, right up here in these riffles. If you start finding gold way back here, then you have a problem. And that's true in any sluice box that you have. A lot of times, a lot of my gold comes in the box, on this box, and it gets stuck right down here. It gets stuck right down there underneath that lip. Or it's right here on the black indicator mat showing up. Or it's right up here, or right here. But if I start seeing it any farther than that, then I'm kind of concerned a little bit. Anyways, the Latrap box is just a little bit lighter. These boxes actually come, I had to cut off the end right here and open it up because when they sell them from the factory, some guys actually run these as high bankers and they don't end up cutting the ends off here. Obviously, if you're going to use this box out in the stream, you have to cut the end up here and open it up so you can get the water to flow through it. And it's the good old Latrap. What is that? Joe Tools, made in the USA. Now the box that isn't here right now, but I'll throw a picture up, which is the Angus box. I actually think it's pretty similar to the Keene box, and it's pretty much the same size. What I liked about the Angus box is it was a smaller sluice box, and sometimes that longer box. Now, like I said, you only really need one sluice box to get out there and get started. However, sometimes a littler sluice box. So this is something you might want to think about. A littler sluice box is sometimes easier to set up than a bigger box because sometimes the spots in the rivers or the spots in the creeks or the streams or wherever you're going, sometimes it's easier to set up a smaller box than a bigger box. I've had times where this box right here wouldn't fit without quite a bit of customization work, and then I was able to go grab that box and I was able to get to work right away rather than sitting around and messing around with the rocks and throwing rocks and opening up a bigger spot and all that good stuff. So here's another thing to think about, guys. The Latrap box, if you go out there and you're going to get a dredge or you have a dredge, you can set these in the sluice box of your dredge, and then when you're done dredging at the end of the day, quite a few dredgers, including myself, this is what I use at the end of my dredging day. I clean up my material out of my dredge box, and then I set this box in my dredge box right here, and then I run all my concentrate material through there and I break it down one step farther, and then the next step is obviously a pan and so forth. So that's just something to think about. If you buy a sluice box like this and you're a gold dredger or you're going to get into dredging, well then you already have a piece of equipment that you can use as a cleanup sluice too. I recommend the Latrap box for your program. I recommend the A51 box, and I recommend the Angus McKirk box because these are all boxes that I have used, and I can tell you from personal experience, they work great, they're just fine, and they'll catch gold just as good as anything else out there. So what a sluice box does is it catches your heavy materials, guys. Your heavy materials enter the box, and gold is heavier than the velocity of water or the volume of water. We're getting all scientific here, but I can just tell you in layman terms, the gold is heavier and has more density than all the other stuff coming into the box, and even lead and stuff like that, and comes into the water and the gold gets stuck in these riffles right here and it gets glued down. Alright guys, and there will be a link for that box right there at the bottom of the description. If you want to go ahead and pick that up, you can go ahead and find that link in the description. This box right here, there is no link for it that I know of, but you can Google it and you will find it online. I don't think you can buy it from Amazon or anything like that. But if you Google the little trap box, you can go ahead and you can find that online with no problem. The Angus box, you can find that at angusmccurk.com. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. I hope that helps some of you guys choose what kind of sluice box you want to buy. Like I said, it really doesn't matter what kind of sluice box you have. You really only need one to get out there and start doing this. There's so many different makes, there's so many different models, but you know what the best sluice box is? It's the one that catches gold. And guys, most of the sluice boxes out there, if they look different, if they're designed a little bit different, they all pretty much work the same way. So it really comes down to personal preference and what you like. And guys, it really doesn't take that fancy of a box to catch gold. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy the content and want to come along for the ride, be sure to smash that sub button, and I'll holler at you in the next one.